For several nights straight, a massive herd of wild boars has been tearing through a cornfield skirting the forest. Deep claw marks and tracks the size of a man's fist crisscross the field, an eerie sign that sends chills down everyone's spine. Today, we decided to go after the ringleaders. The locals call them the Black Shadows of the Red Soil. Our team came fully loaded. Flycam drones, rifles, tracking gear, everything ready for a full-scale showdown with these beasts. As dawn broke, our Ford Raptor roared into the forest. The question lingering in everyone's mind, will we truly come face to face with the monsters today? We started at the forest edge, where fresh tracks stood out clearly on the damp earth. Not far off, maybe 60 meters, a medium-sized boar was hiding in the underbrush. I signaled my teammate to flank right while I held center. The moment the boar poked its head out, I squeezed the trigger. Direct hit! The bullet punched through its body, dropping it instantly. Clean start. We quickly examined the area and moved forward. We continued deeper into the forest, sticking close to a narrow trail. Suddenly, rustling ahead, getting louder. Turns out, another boar was digging around, likely scavenging. Range, 80 meters. Wind, slight, blowing against us. I adjusted for wind and lowered the shot angle, waiting for it to turn broadside. Bang! The boar collapsed right there. We marked the site, recorded footage with the phone, and pressed on, heading north. The sun climbed higher, and while visibility improved, every step became riskier. We swept nearby areas, and within 10 minutes, I spotted another boar peeking from the brush. I moved in, steadied my aim, and fired. First shot struck its side. It jolted and tried to bolt. I quickly followed up with a second round, straight into the chest. That brought it down for good. Another threat neutralized. As we wrapped up collecting the spoils, our scout radioed in. Movement spotted at 4 o'clock. I advanced swiftly and managed to close in. I picked cover behind a tree, looked through the scope. Angle was tricky, roughly 30 degrees off, and the target was farther than usual. I fired. The bullet struck its shoulder. It staggered, but didn't fall. The beast roared and tore into the dense forest. It almost got away, but we had planned ahead. Earlier, my team and I had coordinated and set a trap. Just as expected, the boar burst out right into my teammate's line of fire. No hesitation, he steadied his aim, lined up the headshot, and pulled the trigger. One clean shot. Game over. The forest went dead silent. Another monster taken down. We were just about to call it a day when a faint noise came from the forest edge. A smaller boar, likely separated from the herd, crept cautiously into view. No target goes unclaimed. I raised my rifle, waited for it to step into the kill zone, and fired the final shot. A clean hit! A collective sigh of relief swept through the team. The scattered shell casings, the scent of damp earth, and the fresh tracks left behind all stand as witness to a day of relentless pursuit and precise action. Every step of the hunt was carried out in a state-approved hunting zone, in strict compliance with the state's regulations. Every fall, South Georgia ignites with fierce wild boar hunts. These wild beasts don't run away. They charge headfirst, fierce, destructive, and fearless. Thomas's team sets out fully equipped and determined to stop the rampaging monsters tearing through the land. But on these rugged hillsides, every plan can collapse in the blink of an eye. Will they keep control of the situation, or will they become the hunted? Follow the entire journey coming up next. With experience from countless hunts, Thomas knew exactly when wild boars were most active. They had already set their traps and were waiting. The morning light filtered through the trees, footsteps rustling nearby. As Thomas's eyes locked onto the scene, a boar slowly wandered into view, searching for food. Without hesitation, Thomas raised his rifle, his finger tightening on the trigger, sweaty with anticipation. The decisive moment had arrived. The bullet tore through the air, striking the beast dead on. The first shot echoed, signaling the official start of the battle. On the opposite hillside, Jack was scanning through his binoculars when he suddenly spotted something unusual. Oh! That silhouette is charging full speed, ignoring everything around it. Without hesitation, Jack squeezed the trigger decisively. After the sharp crack, the beast collapsed to the ground. The threat was stopped. Security for the farmers secured. It took Thomas 15 minutes to reach the mountain summit. From there, his view stretched across the entire valley below. Thomas immediately raised his rifle, which jolted with a loud crack. But the prey wasn't easy to bring down. After several consecutive shots, the mission was finally complete. The hillside returned to its familiar calm, and once again, Thomas proved why he's always on the front lines in the fight to protect this land. After wrapping up the hillside encounter, Thomas quietly moved down the trail below. The sound signaling the wild boar's presence grew louder and clearer. Arriving at the path, he carefully identified the direction the beast would come from, then took position, waiting for the decisive moment. Finally, his patience paid off. Thomas fired instantly as the monster suddenly charged. He ended its plans with a precise shot, showcasing the skill and calm confidence of a seasoned professional hunter. Before Thomas could even celebrate the last shot, he was already face to face with another boar. The moment it charged out, his finger squeezed the trigger without hesitation. The bullet flew true, shutting down any chance of escape. What do you think about that shot? If you were in Thomas's boots, would you have reacted that fast? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. No time to rest. Another signal rang out not far from Jack's position. He moved in immediately. As soon as he spotted the target, Jack took it down easily at close range. The door to survival slammed shut for this destructive beast. The hunting dogs quickly moved in to complete the final task. There were too many wild boars here, big, aggressive, and fearless. But with our seasoned expertise, they swiftly took control of the situation, taking down each one cleanly and efficiently.
The lush green fields now bear only the scars of destruction caused by rampaging wild boars. Multiplying rapidly, they swarm down, devastating the crops. Upon receiving reports, the hunters immediately set out, determined to halt this destruction. Can they stop the beasts and restore peace to the fields? Follow the thrilling moments ahead to find out. The French grasslands are becoming a hotspot as ferocious beast herds wreak havoc. Thomas's hunting team swiftly moves in, kicking off a thrilling pursuit. Just minutes later, a shooter spots the wild boar herd charging past, seeking refuge in the dense forest on the other side. Without hesitation, he pulls the trigger, and the second boar collapses instantly in the green grass. The rest scatter in panic, hiding before the next shot can ring out. The battle has officially begun. Continuing to track the remaining wild boars, Thomas keenly observed every thicket ahead. Suddenly, a shot from his teammate rang out, and a boar burst forward. Not letting it escape, a decisive shot immediately echoed, cutting off the animal's path to freedom. At another location, the barking of hunting dogs signaled the prey's position. The shooter immediately rushed forward, ready to engage. At that moment, a wild boar charged across his line of sight. Without a moment's hesitation, a gunshot rang out instantly. The bullet struck directly into the animal's body, causing it to collapse onto the thick grass, unable to escape. At the same time, a night hunt was unfolding in the Texas fields. Kevin's team had arrived early, surrounding an area suspected of harboring wild boar tracks. At the edge of the field, Through binoculars, a shooter spotted the boar herd charging down, wreaking havoc. Unable to stand by any longer, gunfire erupted in rapid succession. Several boars were taken down on the spot, their bodies scattered across the field, with only a few managing to escape into the thickets. At the eastern edge of the field, the 3 remaining wild boars were trying to slip away, but they couldn't evade Jack's infrared scope. Without a second's hesitation, the next series of shots rang out,
2,
swift,
1.
clean, and precise. They collapsed on the spot, unable to escape, leaving only their scattered remains across the field. Another threat was eradicated. The radio crackled with signals pinpointing the locations of other wild boar herds. Kevin and his team swiftly moved in. The boars were busy grazing, unaware of the ambush awaiting them. Without delay, gunfire erupted, sweeping through the beasts in rapid bursts, leaving them no chance to escape. The Texas field was now littered with the remains of the destructive pests. Peace had been restored. New South Wales, the agricultural lifeline of Australia, generating billions of dollars every year. But now it's under siege by bloodthirsty wild boars. These beasts tear through the land, ripping up soil, destroying crops, and causing tens of millions in damage. To protect this fertile ground, hunters from across the country are mobilizing, and we're among them. The battle for survival has begun. Can we stop them before it's too late? Join us and witness the fight right now. 5 a.m. As the first light of dawn breaks the horizon, we load up our gear and climb into our trusty vehicle, rolling out toward the rendezvous point. The moment we arrive, the team immediately fans out, moving to our pre-planned hiding spots. 20 minutes pass, dead silence. Not a sound, not a sign. Then, just as I crouch behind a thick bush, a massive wild boar, easily 500 pounds, bursts out of nowhere, charging just a few meters in front of me. A sharp crack of gunfire cuts through the stillness, followed by another. The beast crashes to the ground, motionless in its place. A solid start to the hunt. In the next field over, Leon had also spotted his target. Finally, the herd appeared. Leon quietly chambered a round, locked onto his target, and pulled the trigger. A thunderous gunshot echoed through the field. The rest scattered, instantly vanishing into the brush in a flash. All that remained was a massive wild boar, motionless on the ground. But the hunt was far from over. With its open terrain, it was the perfect spot to track the beasts. And just as we predicted, a large group of wild boars had begun to emerge, tearing up the dry soil with their sharp hooves. Gunshots rang out immediately, but these boars were fast. Most of them managed to escape into the brush, leaving only a few bodies behind. We couldn't let those beasts get away so easily. I quickly radioed the team, marking the exact area that needed to be tracked. Just 5 minutes later, Leon spotted a big, heavy one weaving its way through the tall grass.
I like it!
Leon quietly raised his rifle, tracking every step it took to squeeze the trigger. One clean shot, the boar staggered, stumbled, and dropped to the ground. At the same time, on the eastern side of the field, Ram had also spotted the silhouette of a wild boar hiding in the dry brush. Several of them burst out in panic, trying to escape the hunting dogs. Gunshots cracked through the chaos clean, Precise dropping 2 boars instantly onto the grass. About 5 minutes later, another one charged out unexpectedly. Without a moment's hesitation, Ram brought it down with a single shot. Night was falling fast, and we rushed to track down the last of the stragglers. The field had fallen eerily quiet, only the sound of grass crunching beneath our boots. Suddenly, a wild boar burst through the undergrowth. It was fleeing from something, but it had chosen the wrong direction. A gunshot tore through the silence once more. The boar collapsed in the tall grass this time. It wasn't getting away. Have you ever heard stories about hunting giant monsters with a bow and arrow? Well, that monster is none other than the fierce wild boars. They brazenly destroy our crops, uproot the forest soil, and cause great harm to our people. Today, we will enter a tough battle using bows and arrows to confront these dangerous invaders. At 4 p.m., we gathered at the edge of the forest to begin tracking the wild boars. We moved toward an automatic feed dispenser that had been set up earlier. We deliberately placed the device in a small puddle to increase its appeal to the wild boars. As predicted, the wild boars appeared, drawn by the strong scent. They busily picked up each piece of food, paying no attention to the lurking danger. From afar, I slowly raised my bow and drew the string. 3, 2, 1, shoot. The bowstring stretched to its limit. The steel-tipped arrow sliced through the air and struck the target. A perfect shot. The wild boar let out a single painful scream. However, it did not immediately fall, but instead panicked and charged forward. Still, we knew well, with that fatal wound, it would soon collapse. Unable to resist the enticing smell of the corn kernels, another herd of boars approached the feeding machine. Without rushing, I calmly took careful aim. After the wild boar had completely let down its guard, I quickly released the string, shooting an arrow toward the outermost boar. The arrow flew swiftly and struck one boar, bringing it down to the ground. A precise, clean shot, as if perfectly calculated in advance. In another spot, perched quietly on a tall stand in the forest, Henry watched a group of wild boars. They were busy searching for food, unaware that we had been waiting for them all along. Then released. The arrow flew and struck the boar, causing it to immediately flee. But we didn't chase right away, knowing the wound would soon bring it down. Deeper into the forest, we encountered a massive male boar. In a tense moment, another arrow was released, striking directly at the boar's vital spot. It staggered, took a few final steps, then collapsed onto the ground. The next afternoon, we continued the hunt. Following the tracks left on the ground, we discovered a strong wild boar weighing about 80 kilograms, casually digging for food. It was completely unaware of our presence. This was the chance. My friend's hand gripped the bow tightly. The bowstring was drawn taut, waiting for the perfect moment. Every tense second stretched endlessly. Shoot! And then, after those anxious moments, the final prey finally fell. We continued by choosing a tall tree trunk that both concealed our presence and provided an ideal vantage point for observation. In the puddle ahead, food had been spread out, acting as a perfect trap to lure the greedy wild boars. Once everything was in place, All that remained was to wait for the right moment. I quietly raised my bow, aiming directly at the strong boar in front. Drawing the string taut with full force, I released. A shot to the vital spot would bring it down soon enough. I drew the bowstring, locked my eyes on the target, then released. But no, I missed once again.
Shooting through the cactus.
There is no place for haste. Only patience, practice, and calmness lead to success. And I know I must try harder to win in the upcoming hunts. Thank you all for following this journey. Having appeared around 4-5 million years ago, wild boars have become synonymous with wilderness, resilience, and extraordinary survival instincts in nature. However, due to their uncontrolled population explosion in many regions, wild boars have increasingly become a serious threat to agriculture, the environment, and human livelihoods. That's why our hunting team regularly organizes hunts to protect our crops and ensure peace in our homeland. After about an hour of travel, we got out of the vehicle strangely excited. The weather today was just perfect, exactly the kind that draws wild boars out to forage. We hadn't even reached the mountainside, yet when we unexpectedly encountered a large wild boar. Looks like this hunt is off to an intense start. Without a word, everyone fell completely silent. I raised my rifle and began scanning the area. As soon as the boar entered my sights, I fired. Several rounds went off in quick succession, hitting the target. They let out a piercing scream before collapsing instantly. A masterpiece. That was a completely spontaneous shot, yet brought us an indescribable rush of joy. To increase our chances of reaching the game, the team decided to bring along our seasoned hunting dogs, four-legged warriors with plenty of experience, and moved swiftly toward the mountain peak. Just as we hoped, the elite dog team flushed the boars out of hiding and drove them toward the slope ahead. Golden opportunity. I didn't hesitate. I raised my rifle and fired immediately. We got one down for real. Seems like Lady Luck is on our side today.
What's up?
Suddenly, the sound of the hunting dogs echoed from the high mountain peak, instantly putting our team on high alert. It took us about 10 minutes to climb the treacherous slopes and reach the site. So what do we have here? A wild boar. It had been attacked by the dogs and was charging straight at us. At this point, it had no way out. Only one fate awaited it at the end of our cold rifle barrels. After wandering around the mountain for about 10 minutes, I suddenly heard rustling from a dense patch of bushes. Without hesitation, I raised my gun and fired a clean shot at the dark figure ahead. The wild boar had no chance to fight back. It dropped to the ground and lay still. We immediately called Waldo for backup near the mountaintop. But unexpectedly, he radioed in that he had just spotted a wild boar lingering near a trail. He quickly moved to block its path. Once again, the gun in Waldo's hands performed flawlessly, ending the target's life in a flash. Another win for Waldo and for the whole team. From the mountaintop where the battle had just taken place, the boars began flooding down onto the road in increasing numbers. Looks like they had realized their hiding spot was no longer safe. We had to hop into the truck immediately and pursue them. Luckily, the dogs had already helped us form a perimeter. All that was left was to take precise aim and pull the trigger. The bullet shot out like lightning, striking the boar and dropping it under a tree, where it quickly drew its last breath. One thing's for sure, the wild boars on this desolate mountain are all unusually large and aggressive.
Allah Allah, gördün mü? Nasıl vurdun?
Oh my God! Waldo's startled scream from the clearing at the foot of the mountain made the whole team spin around. Right before our eyes, a massive herd of wild boars came charging out, too many to count. Without delay, my teammates and I opened fire simultaneously. After nearly a minute of nonstop shooting, several wild boars had fallen, lying lifeless on the ground. Even in the final moments as we were about to leave, we could still run into unexpected situations. So if you're planning to go on a hunt, always stay sharp, keep a firm grip on your gun, and be ready for anything that might come your way.